So, so that's an important title, right? If you go through it. So far, we were able to solve for any oblique triangle. What's an oblique? It's just anything that isn't a right triangle. It's called oblique, all right? Triangle using the sine law, but what if you're not given a pair? Like what if there's no pair? So on page 15, right? What if you don't have a pair? What's happening then? Then you will probably have the following scenarios. Okay, so you will either have a scenario where you will be given two sides and the angle in between. Like the angle is kind of sandwiched in between the two sides. This is called a SAS triangle. You don't have to remember that, but for some of you that might help, right? You've got the two sides and the angle in between. So angle sandwiched. Shouldn't be talking food right now, right? Probably not a good idea. Sandwich between the sides, right? So that's your one scenario. And then your second scenario, I'm going to make this an obtuse triangle just to let you know this works with. Obtuse is just, it has one angle that's bigger than 90, right? So and the other scenario is where all you're given is the three sides. So you have a number, you have the length of all the sides, not a single angle. That one is a dead giveaway that you're gonna have to use cosine law. But in both scenarios, you do not have a pair. Okay, guys? So remember I told you when it's a pair, a known pair, sine law, if there is no pair visible, you got to go cosine law, and it's going to be one of these two. And I will tell you that there are two different formulas. They are related, but here they are. They're on your formula sheet, by the way. There's trigonometric laws. This was the sine law, and here's your cosine law. So this is for side angle side. You're going to use that version. For side, you're going to use this version right here. I would not, like, you can write on this. I would be fine, but on the exam, you don't get to bring this one. So if you want to make note as to which one to use when, use your study sheet for that. Okay. So here it goes. If you have a side angle side scenario as described here, then both of these triangles are identical, by the way. But here it goes, okay? If you wanted to solve for A, by the way, if this is the only angle given, then the only side you can solve for is that one there. You would start it like this. You would say, okay, A squared is equal to, so you know this one, or sorry, you want to know that one. These two will be given to you. So B squared plus C squared, right? These two sides, minus 2 times B, right? 2 times B times C times cosine of, right, the angle across the side you're trying to find. That's why I like that red pen, because if you want to solve for side A, then angle A should be across here. Okay. And I'll add something here. These ones are known. So I'll make an arrow to everything that is known to you. You'll know that. You'll know this. You'll know this. So everything on the left side, on the right side of the equation, you know. You'll just be plugging it in. plug in, plug in, plug in. And I like patterns, right? Because if you know your pattern, then it doesn't matter what letters I use, you'll know what to do, right? So think of it this way. I want to know that one side that would be across the only angle given, which is here. You would know these two. So you take that one and that one, you just square them both and add them. And you go minus 2 times the first side that you used here. Shows up here again. C shows up there again, right? And then you just plug it all in, and I'll show you how to use that in a bit. Let's say you got to be creative here. Let's say these two sides are given and that angle in between, which allows you to solve for this side. In that case, you would start like this. B squared is equal to, right? B squared, you're trying to solve for B. That means that A and C would have to be provided. So you would go A squared plus C squared minus 2 times A times C times cosine of, in this case, it would be capital B. And one more. If you knew these two sides, A and B, and you wanted to solve for side C, right? That means that they would have to give you the angle here. You would just go C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared, and then, right, minus 2 times A times B times cosine of C. And remember, these back here is literally saying 2 times A times B times cosine of C. This is all multiplying back here. And these two are squared and added, right? So we're going to go plus these two minus whatever you get when you do this. It's actually quite simple if you follow my method, right? What you need to know here is you must take the square root to find side. That's a big, right? That's a little cloud there. At the end of the day, before you actually find the side, you're going to have to take the square root because of that square here, right? So don't forget about the square root. Okay? So you would use, by the way, you don't need all 3 versions on your study sheet. Don't do that. It would use way too much room, right? One of them suffice. Like, just make sure you have a triangle so you know what those letters are, right? And then next, yeah, bless you, whoever sneezed. Here, this is when you know all 3 sides, guys. When you know all 3 sides, you will have a choice as to what you want to, which angle you want to solve for, right? So basically, if you want to solve for angle A, you would start like this. Cosine of angle A, I'm going to use A here. Use my red pen. Whatever you're using, just a different color maybe so it stands out. I will do this, watch, a long line. And what you must ensure is that if you're trying to solve for this angle here, that side across from it is at the end, subtracting like that. That you got to make sure that's happening. And then these other 2 sides, B squared plus C squared, get inserted later on. That's what I would suggest you do. And then underneath, you have 2 times B times C. Notice that A doesn't show up again. That's the only time it shows up. And you might be like, are these two related, Mr. Dirks? Actually, they are. We rewrite this whole equation to make it look like this so that cosine of A is isolated, right? So we just move some parts around to the other side here to make it look like this. Okay, but you don't need to know how to do that. You just need to remember this is what the formula, the pattern there. If you wanted to solve for this angle here, B, you would start your equation like this. Cosine of angle B, line across. The first thing I would suggest is make sure you go get your side B and you go minus B squared like that. Okay, and then the other two sides, it doesn't matter which order you do those in. A squared plus C squared, you do that later. And then it's 2 times A times C, right? So AC shows up again down there. One more, just so we have them all. Cosine, let's say you want to solve for angle C. How would this go? Right, I would do that first. And you know why? Because if you don't have the C side here, then you're not solving for that angle that you're thinking you're solving for, right? So A squared plus B squared goes here, and then it's 2 times A times B. And you will notice that I don't really care in which order you do them in when I actually solve. Like if A first or B, like I'll just take the other two sides, square them, and add them. Okay. What do you think you have to do here to find the angle? You must use cosine inverse. You're going to have to do the inverse to find angle. That is probably, if you could add that on your study sheet, that you have to do that before, that would probably be a very good idea to remind yourselves of that. Okay, so here you have both scenarios. So how is this different than sine law? Sine law is basically the same setup every single time. Get your pair, and then on the other side, plug in what you know, and then just cross multiply and see if you need to use the inverse or not. How's cosine law different? Well, if it's side angle side, you're going to have to use this version. If it's side side side, you're going to have to use this version here. Okay. You're all excited, maybe a little scared. Don't be scared. Hey, joke here, joke. Why couldn't trigonometry get a loan? Yeah, nobody would cosine, yeah. Hey, cosine law to solve for side lengths. So when it's side lengths, then you know it's a side angle side. Like it's a given. I didn't have to have that there, but it is going to be side angle side. So here we go. Calculate the length of side A. It could ask us to solve the triangle. Right now we're just wanting A, right? So this is what they're asking for. You have a check mark there, check mark, check mark. Okay. So side angle side. Or you can say no pair. Therefore, cosine law. Whichever one tells you, whichever one you notice first. You notice, oh, there's no pair, cosine law, or you notice this is side angle side. It doesn't matter. So here we go. It wants this side, which is coincidentally called A. So I'm actually going to use my formula first. A squared, if I wanted that side, Then I would have to take the other two sides, square them, and add them. Then I'm going to go minus 2 times the first one times the second one times cosine of angle A. And why am I using the red? Because these are always across each other, okay? That's why it's important. So here we go. A squared is B, I called 7.9, so I'm going to keep it B squared plus C squared minus 2 times 7.9 times 5.2 times cosine of 43 degrees. And this is where I would like all of you to get your calculators ready. Watch this step here. Technically down the road, I will not require you to have that. It'll just be set up, and then I'll ask you to add a second line where you square root whatever you get here, and then you're going to have your answer. That's how easy that is if you follow along. We will do all in one shot. I'll do the whole thing in one shot. So that's what I want you to try on your calculators. And if you have a problem, I will come and see you, okay? I don't want you to suffer there and have issues with your calculator. So watch this. I go 7.9. I have an x2 button right here. X2, that squares it. I don't know if you have it or not. If you don't, you use the hat button, this one. That hat button, if you go hat 2, it is essentially squaring 7.9. If you have a y to the x button, it's the same as the hat. So you go 7.9 y to the x 2, it does the same thing. I'm going to use the x2 button because it's a lot cleaner, and most of you should have it. Right? So 7.9 squared plus 5.2 squared minus 2 times 7.9 times 5.2 times cosine of 43. You got to do all of that is equal to, that's what you should be getting. And you should not be clearing your screen. Don't clear it. Just keep it there. I'm going to write this down real quick. 29, 361, dot, dot, dot. That just tells me that I'm using all decimals, right? And last but not least, you're going to square root that. So I'm going to hit square root equals, and there's my answer. It didn't work.
29, right?
Yeah.
Then I know it didn't work. I don't know what I got wrong.
Okay.
It does show me if
Let's keep going. So I just did one example, and I will already expect you to know how to do it. That's how high my expectations are for you. So go to 17. And in each scenario, right, I just want you to solve for that missing side where the question mark is. And I will give you the answers in a bit, okay? I feel comfortable giving you the first one already because I feel like you should know, right, where you're at. So for A, R is equal to 7.86 kilometers. For B, Y is equal to 8.55 centimeters. This is on page 17. So if you do those questions, that's what you should be getting. To at least have one more. So I'll actually work these out, okay? Let's go to 17 real quick here. side angle side, right? You know you cannot use sine law. You have to use, and try to think of the pattern, right? R squared is going to be these two sides. That's why we give you formulas for you to just see the pattern. Don't focus on the letters. Focus on the pattern. And so these sides squared and added minus 2 times the first side that I used. Sorry, times the second one times cosine of 91. Right? So R. If you plug all of this in, you get 61 something, right? 61.715 dot dot dot, which in turn gives you 7.86 kilometers if you round that. Okay, so just be careful. I have to warn you, I think this is going to give you a negative. Okay, let's just all do that real quick. So if you go cosine of 91, you are getting a negative. It doesn't affect us because I show you how to do it in one shot. But if you would have done this in pieces, like if you do this separately, then this separately, and then you do all of this separately, this whole thing, because of that negative, turns negative. And then that negative will meet this negative. I don't know if you remember, double negatives is actually positive, right? So the calculator does that for you. If you do it all in one shot, then you don't have to worry about it. But every once in a while, students break it down, and that's okay. But you got to be mindful of that, okay? Next, this one here. So I'm just going to quickly show you how to do it. Notation is important, so don't just be going y, right? It is y squared at that time. So I know you probably got this already, but it's the little things. Cosine of 41, right? And then the next line is just to figure that out, figure out the root, and that's 73.053 dot dot dot, which in turn gives you 8.55 if you round it. It's 854 something, but it goes to 855 centimeters. So there you have it. 18 and 19, I will ask you to work on that a little later, because I will give you some class time to work on these today yet. We're doing pretty good with time, so here's the next part, okay? So make sure you follow me to 20, okay? Page 20, put those phones away. You be the master of the thing, not the other way around, right? Remember that. Cosine law to solve angle measures. So when you have side, 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 you have nothing left to do but to find the 3 angles that are missing, right? I specifically ask you to solve for angle A. Right? Where is angle A located? Very easy. It's right here. So this question tells me which one to solve for. I don't have to pick. Okay. What's the 3-letter notation for that angle? I just don't want you to forget that. That's why I'm asking you here. So, right, this is the angle in question. So you either start from here and you go BAC, right? So that'll be angle BAC. Or you can start from here and go CAB, right? Angle CAB. Page 20, okay, Paul? So don't forget the 3-letter notation. It's important to not be thrown off by it. I told you, if the province or anybody ever gives you, or I give you one of these and you don't like it, you go ahead and say, hey, I want to call that angle X or something. Like, call it something, and that's fine. You don't have to stick with the 3-letter notation, but you need to know where it is. You need to know the location, okay? So here you go. How would we do that? I'm going to use my original formula. So if I want this angle, then this is the one across from it, obviously. So watch this. I'm going to go cosine. Soon the letters are going to be different. It's going to be y, whatever, k. So you go with that longer line like that. And what goes back here? Minus a squared, right? And so what's left, if this is, let's go ahead and do that. This is lowercase a. Across from angle C, this is lowercase c. And this is lowercase b, right? So I hope you know that. So b and c are the two sides that are going to be squared and added. Notice that everything is squared at the top. And then the denominator is just 2 times b times c, right? So nothing squared in the denominator. All right, so there we have it. So let's start this now. So if you want to solve for angle A, you need to start with cosine of A. I will write down minus 18, that's A, right? 18 squared right there. I used whole numbers, but this could be decimals. Don't let that throw you off. And then grab the other two sides and just square and add. There we go. And then the denominator gets 2 times 30 times 22. So these two just back down here. And do not shortcut this next step. Okay. I will always recommend you do both separately. So let's do the numerator. So we go 30 squared plus 22 squared minus 18 squared, right? We go like that. That's 1,060. If you do decimals, right, you'll have 4 decimals, whatever. You use all of the digits. Don't round. Okay. The denominator is 2 times 30 times 22. That's 1320. And now we're gonna find out what this is when we divide it, because that's what we ultimately want. So I'm gonna go 1,060 divided by 1320. It's 0.803, and that keeps going. Not square root, but what do we do when we want to get rid of cosine? Like sine, we did sine inverse. Cosine inverse, all right. Which is basically the square root of squaring, right? Like it's the opposite. So angle A is going to be cosine inverse. Please show that step of, I usually do a bracket of that, whatever I just got, 0.803 ... And I still have that on my calculator, right? I haven't cleared my screen yet. So you just have to go shift or second function, whatever, cosine. I just hit equals there, and I get that my angle is 36.58. Okay, 58. So I just found angle A that way. Is it more work? I think so. I think it's more work. So plug in numerator, denominator separately, then divide, take the inverse, final answer. So it's a bit of a, I think it's very crucial that you don't do this all in one shot. A lot of students have tried that, and then you make a mistake. So just do it separately, and you will get a negative soon. We'll deal with that. So one more example here. Determine the measure of the largest angle They want the largest angle. And what would the three-letter notation be for this angle? Where would I find the largest angle? Across the longest side, right? Right? You don't seem to believe me. Across the longest side. Just think about it this way, right? If these are the two arms of the one angle, like the bigger this angle, the longer the side across from it is going to be, right? So there's a correlation there. So this would be angle, which is the largest angle then? Angle C. Sure. Which is also known as, aka, you go up here, just put your pencil right on C, and then you got to start either here or here, but it would be ACB or BCA, one of the two combinations. So that would be BCA or angle. I just read it backwards. A. So much fun, eh? ACB is the other option. Those are your two alternatives. Okay, so let's, I won't do the whole formula again. I just like, if I want to solve for angle C, then I got to go cosine of C, and then I got to go line. Just pay attention, okay? Pay close attention to the little details. Then I will have minus 30 squared right here, because it's across angle C. And then I'll grab the other two sides, 22 squared, in no particular order, it doesn't matter. Just do the other two sides there. And it's 2 times 22 times 18. Okay? And let's do the top and bottom separately. Grab your calculators because this one will have a curveball. Okay, I want you to be able to navigate that. So 22 squared plus 18 squared minus 30 squared. What are you going to get? A negative. Very important. I did that on purpose. So you go minus 92. And then we do the denominator. 2 times 22 times 18. 792. But I want to highlight this part. If you ever see that negative, and I alluded to that earlier already, we're dealing with an obtuse angle. Angle will be obtuse, greater than 90 degrees. Okay, that's what that is telling you. You know without a doubt that this angle will be obtuse. It'll be, even if it's 90.01, it is bigger than 90, right? So here we go. I will go angle C is cosine inverse of, let's figure out what this is as a decimal. And you got to be careful, the negative has to follow here. So use your calculator for this. Minus 92, I'm actually entering it like that. Divided by 792, you get a negative, right? You get that negative right in front. That goes in the bracket. And without clearing anything, I'm going to go shift cosine equals, and there you have it, 96.67. Negative 92. Are we getting negative 92? Were you getting negative 92? You weren't? At the top here?
Oh, I said negative.
Uh-oh. Either I'm wrong or Caleb is wrong. Okay, this is a reduced fraction, so that's still fine.
Okay.
You can do that if you want. Now we know. Now we know what the problem is. There it is. It's obtuse, right? Greater than 90. And you must find, if you want to find the last one, the measure of the remaining angle, you can use sine law, cosine law all over again. But I'm not going to. I'm going to use, remember, if you have two angles, you actually have them all. So I'm just going to use that property. And the answer is 46.75 degrees. There. Before we dive into the examples I want you to try, I'm going to expand your horizon a little bit. Think outside the box. So if you go back to, let's go back to the diagram here. The minute I solve for angle A, which was right here, did you now have a pair technically? Right? You know the angle, you know the side, right? You could have switched over to sine law at that point. So the key is at the very beginning, only one of them works. As soon as you solve for something, you will have a pair. And then you could go sine law if you wanted to. Your preference. The only thing that's going to happen is from time to time, you're going to be off by 0.01. If you do sine law versus cosine law, like if you go one way over the other, that's just because there's some rounding happening along the way. Not a big deal. You're not going to lose any marks for that. It's just the way it goes. Okay. So.
Does that mean we could use the cosine law first and then sine law in test?
Yep. As soon as you have a pair, you go to town. You go. So, but the misconception is that some students try somehow to get a pair in here. This one not so much, but the SAS, some students like use sine law for that. You can't at the beginning, so you don't have a pair. Okay. Okay. So I want you to try pages 21 to 22. So go with me to 21. So I'm actually going to say this. Pages 18 to 19. That's sine law. I want you to finish those questions if you haven't done so already. And then pages 21 to 22, that's cosine law. You may use any law you would like. I would like you to stick with cosine law today because, right, like obviously you're going to need cosine law to get started. And maybe stick to cosine law just to practice that, okay? And I'll walk around. You flag me down. I think I didn't mention it, but if you have a choice, solve for the largest angle first. Right? Like if I say solve the whole thing, solve for the largest angle first, because sine law doesn't know which one is obtuse.